Hi, everyone, and welcome to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I'm a bereavement specialist. Hi, Susan. Good to see you today.
Hi, Lisa, and author. We forgot about those important books you have. I'm Susan Capurso, End of Life Doula and Legacy Specialist, and author as well. Um, Welcome, everybody. Today's topic, we're talking about a little bit of sibling conflicts that go on either maybe before your loved ones passed and definitely after your loved ones passed. Within the family, the dynamics can go awry. So we're here to talk about that important, delicate subject today, and hopefully you'll get a little hints and tips on how to relate better in the family situation when faced with a loved one at the end of life.
So, this topic, Susan, is absolutely foreign to me. I'm an only child, so everything fell on my shoulders, and I always envied all those others who had siblings and who could share all the trauma and all the challenges together. And then I learned that they don't. And I learned that there is a lot of conflict, and it was really interesting learning and reading. And so I hope that some of these tips and some of these ideas are helpful to everyone. I'd really like to go through the beginnings when people are caring for an aging parent or even someone who may be at the end of their life and deal with that. So I learned one interesting statistic, and I want to share that. And that is that the United Disability Service Foundation reported that 17% of adults will care for their parents at some point in their lives, and odds are that the job will fall on a daughter.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe that. I see that.
me too.
Yeah,
And I've heard it. I mean, a lot of my friends, I've heard that that's the way it is. So, of
right.
course, that creates sort of an imbalance in the responsibilities. Sometimes people are close to that parent, sometimes they're further away, sometimes somebody has a better relationship with the parent, sometimes they're best suited for the role. There's a lot of issues that are going on. But the thing is, when siblings disagree, it becomes now even more of a traumatic situation. Not only are you dealing now with the parent who's ill, and needs, all kinds of help, but now you're dealing with just a contentious situation, which makes everything more and more difficult. So it's interesting, as I researched and read, one of the recommendations, I have to laugh, is that you should take your emotions out of the process and look at it objectively. And I'm thinking, who does that? I mean,
That
like, who
doesn't
can
happen.
do that?
That
And
doesn't happen.
these are
And
your parents.
Lisa, it even happens at a distance. I've seen it.
Yes,
There could be siblings that live in other states, but
yes.
yet everybody wants to have their say. And not, I think it comes down to that not everybody's very flexible. People think, what they think is right, and it's not always the right solution.
Right. Well, so one very common issue is that one person shoulders most of the responsibility
Hmm.
for whatever reason. I mean, there's many, many reasons. And so there's some solutions to that. And these are things that apparently are recommended, and we can discuss them and comment. One of the things is a shared calendar. So you can keep track of the medical appointments. The siblings can keep informed. Like, being informed is really important so they don't feel like left out. So that's a big one.
And
Um,
planning. And this is
right?
something that I always advocate with a parent or anybody that you're caring for at the end of their life. Always have that calendar and it's easy. People don't know what to do.
Right.
Even family members, not just friends, but they don't know what to do. But if you said to them detailed instructions, would you be gracious enough to come on Tuesday mornings between 10 and 12 or 10 and 1 just to sit and be with mom so I can count on you every week to do that?
Right.
Even if it's something as little as that, people will jump to the and say, "Oh, I could do that." But
Yes.
people need to be told what to do too in a gentle way. Be careful if it's with
That's right.
siblings
How you say it.
that
Sure.
rivalry. Yeah.
Sure. They talk about handing off tasks that can be done remotely. Because remember, there might be one person who is closer, or maybe they're living with that sibling and not the other person. So they talk about including finances or communicating with other family members about the parent's health. So there are remote things that can be done. And that's really important, obviously. Contributing financially, if that's a burden, everybody should be discussing that. There are financial problems with my parent, and let's figure this out together. And maybe we can do that. And then a scheduled phone or video call between the siblings and the parent. That unites everybody. It makes everybody feel like they're all on board. So that's
Especially now with Zoom.
yeah,
I know a
that's
lot of
right.
families who
Easy.
will do that. Everybody on Thursday night at 7 o'clock, we're having a meeting about mom. Everybody hop on.
Yes, yes. And then there's some other really good suggestions, for younger siblings that live nearby. They can come by, make dinner once a week or something, take a parent out for lunch. They may not be responsible for the primary caregiving. However, they can do some other things like grocery shopping or picking up prescriptions. So there are ways of divvying up things. So this way people feel like they're all participating in the same way. Now, the ones that are living further away, they can plan to visit at least once or twice a year and give the primary caregiver a welcome break, because it all falls on that person's lap. Now, you have the caregiver that might be unwilling to share the caregiver job, and that's a whole nother issue. So, now we get sensitive.
Yeah.
You might even need a third party to work with the family to help everybody sort of voice their concerns or their feelings about the decision making process, or even planning for the parents' short term and long term needs. Maybe that objective person can say, hey, these are the choices, and as a family you can all discuss them. So just having somebody else in there, somebody who's objective, might really help. And then there are professional family mediators who also help on senior care issues, and can help conflicted families, especially if you can't communicate with each other. And that happens many times. People get defensive, people get offensive. There's a lot of things that happen in families. Though I don't know siblings and I
Yeah.
can't identify with any of this, but I'm
Yeah, I
sure
do. I do. And it causes pain because it seems like in my family, there was an instance where one person was a little bossy. They were a little bossy and took control and took charge. And I knew that these were not things that my mom wanted.
So how did you handle that? What did you do? Mhm.
Again, it's hard not to bring your emotions into it, but I tried not to, and I backed off. I stayed flexible, and I
Yeah.
let him handle the situation. And where he had her service, he ended up, my brother, having a service at a church she's never even been to. She didn't want to be cremated, and he did that.
Oh boy.
Um,
Oh
before
boy.
we had the chance to. It was a mess. So it can be a mess. That's the thing. And
That is so
really,
hurtful.
it was, and it really wasn't a resolved issue in my family.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it wasn't a resolved issue, and it caused distance. It
Yeah.
caused distance, and I'm sorry for that, but I shouldn't have to be telling the world this, because we want to find solutions, right? And we want to make it easier and better. But sometimes things like that happen. But if you're mindful and you're listening to us today, there are things that you can do to avoid,
Yeah.
something that I went through.
Horrible. And I'm sorry. The one statement that they make in some of these articles, I want to read it because it really shows how important this is. It says preserving sibling relationships while giving parents the best care you can take some hard work, okay, but it'll be worth the effort in the long run, because not only you're preserving the relationship with your parents, but you're preserving the relationship with your sibling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
difficult, difficult.
No, and I believe that. And I think that's absolutely true, that if you work on something, beforehand, that it may not come to that. Open and honest communication,
Yes, yes.
flexibility,
Yeah,
right?
and look, the relationships that people have before anything happens also determines. So if you weren't really tight or you got personality differences, it's going to come on to everything. And it certainly
Right,
will come on to taking care of a parent.
right, right. What
Yeah.
are some of the other things that,
Those are the ones that really were
those are the
highlighted
main points,
that
yeah.
I felt, yeah, that I felt were really important points. Um,
Now, what
in
about,
the end,
okay, so this was before, this
this is
was
before. We're
before.
going to do after. We're going to do after. I have some examples of that as well from my book. But I want to say that I think that siblings need to put their parents first. I think they need to look and say, the most important thing is that my parents gave me, love and life and everything that I could want. What do I want to do back for them, in their lives?
Yeah,
And
and if everybody can agree on that,
yeah,
that can be the foundation of what do we do next?
yes, yes.
Yeah, that was a great
So,
point.
yeah. So now talking about estrangement after a parent dies. So now you already have people whose relationships may not be strong. And of course, the parents might be the people who are binding them together. So now you've lost that binding, and that becomes really difficult. So, in my second book, I talked about moving on after the loss of whoever it is. And there were a few families who talked about their parents after their parents died, and sibling problems, conflicts, because first of all, they all grieve differently. They all had different relationships with their parents. They all felt differently when their parents died, whether it be guilt, whether it be loss, whether, I mean, a million things. And
Anger,
everybody is
grief,
different. We
yeah,
know it. Everybody's emotions are different. Their grieving styles are different. Their journeys are different. And we talk about that anyway. So now we're really talking about real rifts because people can hold on to that hurt and resentment based on many things, based on years of issues, based on years of he liked you more, she wanted this for you, you did this for her, on and on. And so unfortunately, um it makes it easier when the parents are gone. It makes it easier for some people to walk away.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not there
They don't have
anymore.
that center. They don't have that rock anymore that we all surround ourselves around. And I
Correct.
get that. And that's a little bit about what happened, within my family. But also things come up, my mom didn't have much in her life. But I've seen a lot of families, get angry and get possessive and who's
Yep.
getting what. And
Yep.
that can lead to a lot of strife
Yeah. Yeah.
within a family. So again, it's all in that pre-planning. If you can get some of those things on
Discuss
paper
first. Yeah. Yeah.
discussed between everybody and on paper before even your loved one gets sick enough to where they can't speak anymore.
Yes.
If there can be some open communication about that, that will lead to a better aftermath, right?
Yes. So the first thing is to talk about it.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, if you have some kind of relationship with your family members, your siblings, that's the most important thing, to talk about where you stand, to talk about your feelings. Again, it's the same thing. It goes back to communication, which is so difficult for people, especially in stressful situations. Now you've lost, the loved one, the
Now,
parent, the loved one.
if you don't have that communication, you
Mhm.
never will.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't there before, like you said. I think that was a good point that you made about having some kind of third party,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
kind of mediator, that can put the facts on the table and say, this is the way it is now.
Yes. Yes. Now what?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about rivalries. It's interesting. There are a bunch of questions that you can actually ask if you're open enough to really talking with each other. Okay. These are interesting questions. Again, this is alien territory for me. I don't know anything about this, but I'm just going to put it out there because they are certainly leading questions, and the conversations, if you're open to it, might be really therapeutic and
Ooh, this
helpful.
might have been helpful for me, so I'd love to hear these.
Okay. What was your perception of me when we were growing up?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one because some people say, you got more of this, or you had more attention, or, you know, right? Whatever. I mean, I've heard little conversations with my own kids, and I've heard little things. Well, he was, your second, so you did different things. It's really interesting, the perception. So that's an interesting open question to think about. Um, and another one, did I do anything in particular to encourage those feelings towards me?
That's pretty deep.
Was it something that mom or dad planted in your head? Okay. Whoa, this is really going
Because
different places.
yeah, these questions often go unanswered forever.
That's right. That's right. You ready for the rest?
Forever.
Yeah. Listen to
Wow.
this. Listen to this.
Should I had this discussion with some of my siblings?
Listen to this one. Did you feel that they pitted us against one another? Now, some families do that. I don't know, but some families. And then look at this one. How do you feel about me now?
Oh, I got the chills.
Yeah, that opens up a whole new door. What exactly makes you feel that way? And the last one, which is probably the most important, what can I do to fix things between us?
Those
What
are
a great
great
olive,
questions.
what an olive tree, right? To hand
Oh,
peace to your hand somebody.
and you know what I would love for people that are going through any kind of situation like this ahead of time versus after a loss, preferably. But rewind this, listen to Lisa's questions and jot them down.
Mm,
Just jot them down and have a conversation.
wow.
Because, like I just said, if I had these questions, I mean, relationships could be different
Yes,
just by airing out a few of these questions. Maybe it'll
right.
get a little loud and a little uncomfortable,
Sure,
but
sure.
they're important.
And and then there's more. And these are all sort of like I statements. In conversations, you're not supposed to say you did this. Yes, I felt, right? So listen to
Right.
these. I admired you growing up, but you hurt me when. Okay. So now you're saying you're feeling, and it's coming out, and you now are expressing a feeling. You're entitled to feelings. Feelings are not good or bad, they just are. So there you are. Okay.
Also, though, also, when you have this discussion, be prepared.
To hear
Be prepared that you may hear an answer
what you don't like.
that you don't like or
Correct.
that you didn't expect
Right.
and try and address it.
That's right. I got another one. Do you remember when you said and blank to me when we were growing up? That hurts me to this day.
Oh, oh,
People have unresolved hurt, and they've
yes.
never discussed it, and it's never been aired. Now you have a situation where it's there. It's going to sit right there unless you do something about it.
It's the same thing, Lisa, if you have bad childhood memories,
Yeah.
right? And there was trauma or, grief within the family, things happen. And then you grow up and you think you're okay. And here you are, 40 years old, 50 years old, and they're all coming out now. Things are coming out and you're not adjusting. You're not having good relationships with people. You have anger issues
Yeah,
and you feel like you need a little therapy about this and what's going on. A lot of things result from years past.
absolutely.
And this includes sibling rivalry. I remember my brother was 2 years younger than me, but he made me so mad all the time. I was the oldest and I babysat a lot. And I remember chasing him around the dining room table, trying to get him down and stopping him from whatever he was doing. That's a big memory for me.
Wow.
But can you imagine if I had those questions and that kind of conversation with him, and he said that he's never forgiven me for always going after him, or
Yeah,
oh, that's
yeah. And
deep
one
stuff.
one more, one more. Brother or sister. I always felt inferior to you because, okay. I was hoping we could talk about that. I would love to reconnect with you, and I miss you. What an olive branch. You got that one too, right?
Wow,
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
Powerful stuff. Then you have substance abuse, which could come from, it already might have been there, or it came now because of the death or because of guilt or because of a million other things that people feel. And now you have to really help that sibling. So it might be substance abuse counseling, or it might be some kind of intermittent sober living house, or family counseling or therapy. But being part of it and showing that you still care and that you're there for the person, that you still embrace them, that you haven't just forgotten about them. That's a big one. That's, and then there's divorce. People do go through divorces, and that also has a lasting effect on sibling relationships. When the parents divorce, children are young, it can forever change the family dynamic. So now you have issues of, well, I went with this parent and you went with that parent, so now you've got that mixed in too, which is also really difficult. Maybe favoritism. You felt favored because I went with you, and you went with the dad or whatever. So that's also complicated things. There's also past trauma, because there's all kinds of trauma that you can go through when you were a child. And of course, that lasts well into adulthood. So you have to see if there are ways that you can sort those things out now.
Well, that's what
Because
we
you
were just talking about. Yeah.
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 Yeah, again, any kind of hurt, resentment, anything like that. So there's all kinds of tips when to prevent sibling fighting when a parent dies. One of them is to be as transparent as you can. Okay, having
Without
important.
without without being judgmental, I think.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Being kind.
Being
And that's
kind.
hard sometimes.
Yeah. These important conversations include, did they write a will? Okay, do you know about that or not? Where is it? And who's named executor? You know, and before, like you were talking about before, are all the end of life affairs in order? Are there things that were already in place?
Well,
What
because all of those things, paperwork and planning, will alleviate
that's right.
those pressures after.
That's right. That's right. Even do they prefer to die at home or in a hospital setting? The siblings need to hear that very clearly
Yeah.
so that they abide by their parents' wishes.
And unfortunately, out of fear, out of anger, out of all these different emotions, people don't want to talk about it.
That's right. That's right.
People don't want to talk about it, but what they don't know is the person who is passing, they do want to talk about
That's
it.
right. They do.
They do want to come full circle in their lives and make sure things are complete and not just left for all their children to fend to.
Yes.
As much as you may not believe that, but it's true. Most people at end of life want to have these open and honest discussions and
Yes.
talk about leaving.
Yes. Yes. Is there a prepaid funeral in place? And what would they like to happen after they die? Burial, cremation. You just mentioned that with your brother. I mean, your parents' wishes should have come first.
Right.
There's no
Right.
question about
And
that.
that's the bottom line. So everybody really needs to learn to work together. Work together because you love your parent.
Yes. They say here, act civilly. Okay. So, you might have to give things some time. Everybody reacts differently and all. And everybody is in their own grief journey. So you need to try and understand and empathize and just try and be a nice human being,
Yeah. Yeah. And you may be watching this and you're not such a nice human being, but this is an important time to try to fake it till you make it and be that nice human being when you're going through all these kinds of things.
Yeah. So one is offer to help. So you see, the more helpful you are to your siblings during the time of loss, the more likely they're going to remember your actions later on.
Yeah.
So, we're all going through this differently, but, it's like one of my book contributors said, I wanted to talk about it, but my siblings didn't want to. My father's death, and all I wanted to do was just talk about my father's memory, but they didn't want to talk about it. They were angry, they were hurt, they were missing him, and it really hurt him. It was really difficult for him. And he kept that hurt inside for a long time. And he said it came out in many, many different ways.
Yeah.
So he wishes that he'd been able to say to them, look, I understand that all of you are hurt and feel different, whatever, but I'm also going through grief. And I'm the one who took care of him, and he's the one who did. And it was, it was very difficult for me to cope with this alone because all of you were scattered and didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
And that's how it was for him. So, look, everybody
I
had
think
different
that's
relationship.
common. That's common.
Yeah, it is. And the oldest child might have been the favorite, but maybe they take it the hardest, maybe they're grieving in a different way. You have to all kind of come together and figure out where you all are and how you all feel during this time. It's
Yeah,
interesting. One of their comments is spread some love, and it's about everybody grieving in their own way, which is what we say all the time.
right.
Okay, and so we're supposed to really encourage people to offer words of support and condolences even when you think they aren't needed or wanted.
Yeah,
So being there for them anyway, right? And then reestablishing broken relationships. So difficult, but you know what? It'll keep the family together. And I'm sure that's what your parents would want.
yeah. And I'm sure it's what you will want too later on down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, why go from a family who gets together for gatherings and dinners and holidays and enjoying each other's time and picking on each other and laughing with one another and spending time to now nothing. You don't really feel like you have family members anymore.
That's right. That's right.
And that happens so much.
Yeah, it
We're
does.
all we're human beings. We're all here on
Sure.
this earth for a short time.
Sure.
And we really are here to learn.
Yeah.
Here to learn and to grow and be the best possible people that we can be. That's
Yes.
my thoughts,
Yep. Mine too. Mine
right?
too.
So we may
Yeah.
have made mistakes in the past.
Sure.
We all have made mistakes. We're all damaged people. I
Sure.
get that.
Sure.
But when coming into a situation like this, try and bring your best into that situation to avoid the conflict later.
That's right. So hopefully the tips have been helpful and
Lisa,
hopefully
I'm
they give,
so glad that you did find that list of questions.
yeah, they really resonated with you, didn't they?
They did. And you don't have to sit and have a formal conversation and said 2 p.m., be there at Saturday at the table because I have questions to ask you.
Right.
It could be in a more casual way as well. But at least, you're communicating and honesty is flowing around the room and communication is key
Yeah.
for so many things.
It's going to open up, I think, a lot of doors and a lot of feelings and hopefully get to the next step, which is a better relationship and something different. And, again, loss opens up many doors.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that it can really change, as we know, it can change our lives in many ways, but it can also improve different things that perhaps were difficult before.
Mm-hmm.
Because it will, I think it will challenge them to a new life, a new chapter. I call it a new chapter. That's what I
It is
call
a
it.
new chapter for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
But look for the peace. Look for the peace.
Yeah.
Why do you want drama in your life? And if there is drama, let
Yeah.
it go. Let it
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Good.
Oh,
Bless you. Bless you.
summer's just over, and here comes a sneeze. What's it?
Uh-huh. So tell us a little bit about some of the legacy work and stuff you've been doing.
So I work on a project, a 4-week project. And I do this for end of life clients as well as healthy and vibrant baby boomers and seniors that have stories and have memories and have experiences that they want to share with their grandchildren and their grandchildren's grandchildren who don't intimately know them. I recently worked with an attorney. We were doing something else together, not in particular this book, but he's written three books and about many of his celebrity clients that he has. And such an interesting man. And I brought up the topic of the legacy book that I create for your families and the future generations he'll never get a chance to meet. And he goes, "Oh, I never really thought of that." because he's so busy during his 7 decades in business as an attorney, writing about other people
Mm.
and his career. So he goes, "You mean on a more intimate level?" I said, "Well, he has grandchildren and great grandchildren." I said, "How are they ever really going to know about your life in the day to day and know about grandpa or know about their ancestor that they never got a chance to meet? You're fascinating. You're amazing. You have lots of stories to tell. And even when you don't think you do, the clients that I work with, they do. So I give a little prompt and we start having a conversation like this. And before you know it, it turns into a full blown conversation. The memories are coming back from their first boyfriend or girlfriend and the things we did. And these are all stories that make up the person that you are today.
Yes,
So
yes,
sharing is educating our future. Really, it's valuable. It's a treasure.
it
So
is a
that's one of
treasure.
the big projects I work on, along with a few others that are on my website that you could see below.
Yeah, I'm going to mention the caregiving basket just because I sent that to my girlfriend, whose husband was diagnosed with cancer diagnosis, and yeah, and she's already, very educated. She's a social worker, but I felt like this would give her sort of her own time and her own opportunity to go through, because I know what it's like, and you do too, being a caregiver, and how difficult and challenging it is.
Uh,
So I sent that to
Lisa's
her.
talking about the healing garden.
I am talking about the Healing Garden basket with these beautiful Long Island stones, and each one has a beautiful phrase on it. And the healing basket that I chose was for a caregiver. There are others. I did send a bereavement basket to my girlfriend as well. So these are really beautiful and
Thank
made with
you.
love and care. So
Thank you very much, Lisa. Yeah.
you're welcome.
It's a beautiful project that I do on the side. And I really love it because I know how many people it's helping,
Yes, yes,
so it's nice. And that's on my website as well. The website up there, my website,
it
yes.
is.
In
It
white,
is.
eastendulacare.com
Yes.
or susancapurso.com. And you
And
can
our
find
workshop
that.
is on there as well. We did a
Yes.
workshop a while ago. What does a dying person want? And I'd love for more people to see that. That
Right.
was a really very sensitive and very open workshop that I believe would be helpful to many people. I know it's
And let's
difficult
hear
to.
about let's hear about your side gigs, Lisa.
So October 2nd, yeah, we're at the fall fundraiser times now, and October 2nd is my walk for the Lustgarten Foundation, which is a not-for-profit that funds early detection and eventual cure of pancreatic cancer, which is a deadly disease. And so I will have a table at the mission tent. I sell my books, and all the money goes directly. I don't take any of the money. All the money
Where
goes
is that at,
directly.
Lisa?
It would be at Jones Beach on October
Oh,
2nd.
nice. On Long
And
Island.
and you can email me because there is a link to my fundraising site. When they donate more than $25, they get a free book. So if they want to donate that way, or if they're going to walk, I also have a team called Families Move On. So you can also join my team. But what I like about this organization, I am a not-for-profit person, but what I like about this organization, it's entirely funded by a corporation that started it when their own vice president got this diagnosis. And it continues with 100% of the monies raised, 100% goes to the research. Okay. Nothing goes to staff because the corporation pays for it. Nothing goes to other things that, people always do when they look up not-for-profits. So I feel really good about that.
That's
Eventually
wonderful.
there will be a cure. Eventually there will be. I mean, they're working very closely with scientists and they've learned a lot, but the disease is still really deadly. So,
And
obviously
for more information and the dates and times, just give Lisa a call. Her phone number is right up above her head there.
that's right.
Jot it down and give Lisa a call and she'll give you all of that information.
Absolutely.
So this was
Thank you.
great today, Lisa, and I really hope that people got a few hints and tips and ideas, and I love those questions. So helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
And again, if other people have any suggestions of what topics they'd like
Oh,
that they're
sure.
really feeling strongly about, either before the end of life or after, please, we're always open to new topics. We've been doing this. We have almost 70 videos. We've been doing this now over a year. It's a year and a half. And each topic has just been, it resonates with us. We give our personal opinions, we give our professional opinions, and we hope that that you'll share it, of course, with the other people who may be going through this as well. So
Exactly. Well, great. Well, thank
great.
you very much, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Can't wait
Until
to see
next
you next
time,
week.
take
Okay.
care. Bye.
Bye.